I'm not stupid. You sure about that last part?
Hey guys, this is Josh with J Show Horror back again. Today I'm going to be talking about the complete 5th season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now this review will contain tons of spoilers for the entire 5th season of Buffy. So if you don't want to be spoiled, click off this video. I highly recommend you going to watch this show. This show is available on Hulu at this moment. So yeah, if you seem interested in this show, I do highly recommend this. But I do want to get into some details about this season. I think this might be the most perfect season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This season has it feels like the most one storyline going on throughout any season. This is like the most interconnected season. There's hardly any one-off episodes per se in this season. And there really isn't that many bad episodes either. I think the only kind of, I guess you could say, bad episode this season, even though I found it entertaining, was the robot girlfriend episode. That it actually comes into play later with the robot stuff, but that might be the only episode I might say might be the weakest episode of this entire season. I think this season has the most strong, really good to great episodes of any season. I completely loved this season, and this season starts off with a really fun episode. You got Buffy versus Dracula, and the way Buffy reacts to finding out he is Dracula, she kind of gets starstruck. She can't believe she's getting ready to fight Dracula. That was just a great way to start this great season. And at the end of this episode, you get introduced to Dawn, and that's Dawn is, at first you think she gets introduced as Buffy's sister. So at the end of this episode, when Joy says, "Buffy, don't forget to take your sister with you," and they both just yell out "Mom," and it cuts to credits, I was instantly hooked. I was instantly intrigued. I'm like, Buffy does not have a sister. What the heck is happening now? I actually thought it was a joke. I thought Dawn was gonna be some sort of what if. I thought it was gonna be a what if episode where everything gets resolved at the end, the episode The Wish from season 3. I thought it was a bad joke, but Dawn's storyline ends up being one of my favorite story arcs of this entire series. I found her storyline to be intriguing, and for a few episodes they kind of hint that she's something else besides Buffy's sister, but I was so intrigued because everyone was acting like she's been there the whole time, and I just loved that. I think a lot of people complained that she was irritating, but I actually didn't. After 2 or 3 episodes, I didn't think Dawn was that irritating, but I already liked Michelle Trachtenberg from other movies, so I kind of had a built-in connection. I already liked that actress, so maybe that's why I didn't think she was that annoying. But her storyline overall throughout the season of her being the key and everybody's memory around her got built, that she's been there the whole time. I just love that storyline. And I also love the villain of this season, Glory. Now Glory you end up finding out she is a god. She basically is the biggest threat they ever faced up until this season. One reason why I think she is my favorite villain of this entire series, I think that is because she is still very entertaining. The actress is very entertaining. She might tell jokes here and there. She might be funny here and there, but she also is a huge threat. When she shows up, I actually think she's gonna kill some people. So
you hit me. What are you, crazy? You can't go around hitting people.
I think they found the perfect mix of her being a threat and being a really fun villain. And like I said, I love the storyline of Dawn being the key and Glory is trying to get to Dawn because Glory needs to go back to her dimension. I find it to be the most mysterious, the most intriguing, especially for the first part of the season where you're she's not actually Buffy's sister. There's no way she just popped up on the show in the 5th season. I think this season was the perfect perfect mix of supernatural stuff going on and natural stuff going on, because this is the season where Buffy is dealing with her mom getting sick, with Joyce getting sick, and there is some heartbreaking stuff going on. Even Riley's trying to still connect with Buffy, but she's dealing with her mother's illness. And I do gotta say too that Riley, I didn't love Riley in season 4, but I found his storyline in Riley to be more intriguing this season. He had a lot more interesting stuff going on this season than he did in season 4. He was just kind of a soldier that followed orders in season 4. With this, he kind of becomes obsessed with vampires sucking on his blood because Buffy is not giving him 100% while she's dealing with her mother and everything. Also, Spike, I think, had a better storyline also. Like, the entirety of Spike's story arc of season 4 was he has this chip, he can't hurt anybody, and he kind of becomes part of the Scooby gang. But in this season, I think his storyline gets a lot more intriguing because he kind of starts to fall for Buffy, but he's trying to resist it at first. He does not. He thinks there's something wrong because at first he doesn't want to fall for her, but he just ends up falling for her and he can't help it. I want to talk to you guys about some of the episodes that I loved this season. The first episode I want to talk about is Family. Now, this episode is more of a Tara-centric episode. It's gonna be her 20th birthday, so Willow is throwing her a birthday party. And up to this point, the Scooby gang, she's part of the Scooby gang, but she really isn't like part of the family yet. She's not like super accepted as part of the Scooby gang. She's there sometimes, but sometimes she's not there with them. And her family shows up, and Tara's acting all awkward around her family, and she ends up talking to her dad, and her dad says that her mom was a demon and her mom turned bad when she was like 20, so Tara's turning 20, so he says she has to go with them. She is leaving her friends and she has to go with her family. And of course, Tara does not really want to leave. She loves being with Willow, and she loves kind of being part of this gang that keeps saving the world all the time. She does a spell on the Scooby gang where nobody can see demons because Tara thinks there's demon blood in her, so she wants to do it so they can't see her demon blood. Of course, all these demons show up and nobody can see them. They're trying to fight them and they can't see them. Tara goes into the magic shop while everybody's getting hurt and trying to fight these invisible demons they can't see, and she lifts the spell so they can fight all the demons. Her family shows up and says, "You have to leave with us."
I trusted you more than anyone in my life. Was all that just a lie? No. Do you want to leave?
And Buffy comes out and says, "Tara, do what you want to do. You could stay if you want. This is her choice, and she wants to stay with the gang." And like everybody, Xander, Willow, everybody says you have to go through us to get to her if you want to force her to go with you. I just love that episode. That is the episode where they fully accept Tara as part of the gang. And for me, the gang is not just a gang that works together. The Scooby gang ends up being a family, especially by this season, because they have lived through so much together. They have such a bond that a lot of people in this world don't have. So I love that they fully accept her. Love this episode, and I love Tara as a character, so I was kind of happy to see like a centric episode about Tara. Love Family. Great episode. One thing I love about this season too is that when Buffy's mom gets sick, Buffy immediately assumes that it's something supernatural, it's something they can take care of, and she doesn't even see it as a natural thing, as a tumor. And I love that she instantly goes to that, and she just does not know how to deal with natural stuff, so she just assumes that it's supernatural. And she does a spell to see what is going on with her mom, but she doesn't see anything. She finds out that Dawn is the key because Dawn is like reflecting in and out of the pictures, and I loved how they revealed that Dawn hasn't been there the whole time. I love that effect of her going in in and out of the picture. She's there and not there. I loved how Buffy found out about Dawn. And I also love that Buffy, even though she finds out Dawn is the key in this episode, Buffy decides that she has to protect Dawn with everything she has because she knows Dawn is very important. This really strong being is trying to find Dawn, or trying to find the key, and I love that Buffy decides to just protect Dawn. It's going to be their mission to protect her no matter what, even though they don't know exactly what the key is yet. And I love that Buffy decides this, and even though she knows Dawn isn't her sister, she knows Dawn hasn't been there the whole time, she has memories and feelings that Dawn has been there the whole time, and she loves Dawn. So I love all that storyline. So the next episode I want to talk about is Family Ties. This is the episode where Dawn actually finds out she is the key. She finds out she is not human. And Dawn keeps freaking out throughout this episode that she keeps questioning, what am I? Am I even anything? Am I nothing? I just love that because she's been like hearing things throughout a few episodes earlier that they keep talking about her. So she finally finds out and she leaves. She goes to the hospital where Ben is. Ben's a nurse that's been helping with Buffy's mom. This is revealed in this episode that Ben is Glory. So Ben turns into Glory. At this time, they don't remember what's going on when they're the other person. Glory knows Buffy knows where the key is, but Glory doesn't know that Dawn is the key herself. So she's trying to get Dawn to tell her where the key is, and Buffy is trying to go after Dawn and save her. And the whole gang shows up, even Spike shows up, and they try to fight Glory. And I love that Glory, like, they all struggle to fight Glory. They are just struggling to stay alive when they come into contact with Glory. So I love that Glory feels like this huge threat. Like, they can't do anything to beat Glory. All they can do is survive, or barely survive, when they come in contact with Glory. I just love that.
Like, that's gonna... Hey!
Watch the hair.
And I loved how Tara and Willow just teleported her somewhere else. And she's up in the sky and she says, oh shit. Or pretty much oh shit. And then she just falls. Love that moment.
Oh, shh.
And I love the ending to this episode because Dawn says, Buffy, why are you trying to protect me? I am nobody. You don't even like me. I'm just a thing. And Buffy looks at her and says, no, you are not nobody. You are my sister. It don't matter if you weren't my sister before. We all have these feelings and these memories, and I love you. You are my sister, and we will protect you. I love that ending so much to this episode. But yeah, Blood Ties was a great episode. And of course, you can't talk about season 5 without talking about probably the best episode of this entire series, The Body. Now, this episode was so heartbreaking because they thought they got Joyce's illness. They thought they cut the tumor out. They thought she was gonna be okay. This was like the robot episode where this started from, the kind of really silly robot episode. Then out of nowhere, Buffy comes home and sees her mother dead on the couch, and that episode just ended. And this starts right off from there. So I thought it was great how it came out of nowhere after this very silly, funny episode. Then all of a sudden, it cuts to this episode. Now, this episode, for me, this episode feels the most real, the most gut-wrenching, the most heartbreaking episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy finds her mom, and Buffy is in shock. She calls the ambulance. They tell her to give her CPR. She says she's cold, and that's the first time you hear the words "the body." The lady on the phone says, "The body is cold," and Buffy says, "No, my mom is cold." And of course, the paramedic shows up. They find out very quickly she's been dead for a while, and Buffy's just in shock. And they keep saying "the body, don't move the body." And of course, Buffy did call Giles and he's on his way. And I also love the little things in this episode where her skirt, Joyce's skirt, was lifted up and Buffy pulled it down so she looked more appropriate for when the paramedic shows up. And I also love that this episode has no music at all. And I think that was a brilliant choice to not have music. It feels more real when there's no music going on throughout this episode. everybody reacts so different to death. I like how Willow kept going through all the sweaters. She kept changing her sweaters. She kept freaking out. She really wanted the sweater Joyce liked, and it was just, and I thought all the acting was so well done in this episode. And of course, Xander and Anya shows up to pick up Willow and Tara. Xander's this kind of angry, he's dealing with anger, and he ends up punching a hole in the wall. It's just real stuff in this episode. Anya kind of is freaking out because she knows Joyce and she's gone now, and it's hard of a concept for Anya to grasp because she was a demon for so many years. Nobody around her actually she knew and liked died.
I don't understand how this all happens. How we go through this. I mean, I knew her, and then there's just a body. And I don't understand why she just can't get back in it and not be dead anymore. It's stupid. It's mortal and stupid. And Xander's crying and not talking, and I was having fruit punch, and I thought, well, Joyce will never have any more fruit punch. Ever, and she'll never have eggs or yawn or brush her hair, not ever, and no one will explain to me why.
I also love the conversation between Buffy and Tara. Tara has lost her mom. Tara said it wasn't sudden, but it's always sudden. Even though Tara knew ahead of time that her mom was going to pass away, it's still sudden when she does.
Was it sudden? What? Your mother?
No. And yes. It's always sudden.
Yeah, this entire episode felt real heartbreaking episode, gut-wrenching episode. One of the best episodes of any TV series ever, I think. And of course, Dawn wants to see Joyce because Dawn can't comprehend that it's not Joyce there no more. She still just thinks it's Joyce, but it's just a body now. I think it was so perfect, and I think having Buffy fight a vampire at the end of the episode kind of gave her something to do, because throughout this episode, she felt like she couldn't do anything. So I think they added the vampire element in there just so it feels like she did something in this episode, because Buffy, she's so used to being able to take care of stuff and get stuff done, and this time throughout this entire episode, she just couldn't do nothing. It was already over. So yeah, for me, the body is the most perfect episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The next episode I loved is the very next episode after Joyce's death. It starts off at her funeral. Dawn decides maybe we can bring Joyce back. Maybe Mom can come back. So she gets a spell. She tries to figure this out. She does a spell to bring her back. And of course, Buffy doesn't know what's going on in this episode. And I like that Angel showed up to Joyce's wedding. Angel and Buffy had a conversation. It's always nice to see her and Angel together, even if it's like a one episode every once in a blue moon. I love that Angel was still somewhat a part of this show, even though he had his own show. I love that. Yeah, but Forever was kind of a heartbreaking episode because Dawn decides to do this spell. So you see Joyce's corpse comes up out of the ground, and she's like walking towards the house. She's getting closer and closer to the house, and she's almost to the door, and Buffy asks Dawn, "What did you do? What's going on? What did you do?" She ripped the picture of Joyce right when Buffy opens the door, so Buffy never saw Joyce there. So I loved how this episode ended. I just love the whole storyline of this episode. And I love that Dawn decided not to see Joyce again. And you never know, when they bring people back, you never know if they actually are the people that you knew before they died. So there could be something missing. There could be something going on with them. So I loved how this episode ended. And another reason why I think this season is so great is because Buffy kind of takes over the Joyce role for the series. Basically, overnight, she has to learn how to become the mother. She has to learn how to take care of the finances. She has to learn how to take care of Dawn. Not just protect her from Glory, but take her to school, feed her, take care of her in that way too, in a motherly way. I also love that Buffy, this is the first time I see Buffy, she basically just tells all her friends, we are leaving town, we're getting out of town, we can't fight Glory, we just need to survive. And that was the first time I seen Buffy just basically said, we need to run, we need to get out of here. And that leads to like a big giant episode of all these knights. The knights are trying to kill the key also, and because they know how powerful the key is, and that you actually find out the key is actually, it opens multiple dimensions, and dimensions can go in and out and go into other dimensions, and that's why Gloria needs the key to get back to her dimension. And I love the reveal of all that, and I like how this season it gradually reveals that. It's, you know, Dawn is a key, but you didn't know exactly what she did until like the next to the last episode of this season. But yeah, there's a lot of great action with the RV and all the knights fighting. It felt like huge for a TV show. And one thing I found heartbreaking this season also was the way they had Glory found Tara, and Glory thought Tara was the key, and she took some energy from her mind, and Tara ended up being like really crazy for a majority, or for a few episodes, and it was so heartbreaking. She wasn't there with the fight. But now let's talk about the season finale of season 5, The Gift. Now Buffy went on a journey earlier, a few episodes earlier, and she finds out that her gift is death. She wasn't sure exactly what that meant first. She thought she causes death, death is all around her, but ended up being that her gift is giving her life. The season finale, The Gift, I believe this was supposed to be the series finale of this entire show. So if season 5 was the last season of Buffy, I would have been perfectly fine with that. They would have ended on a perfect season, perfect ending, but I'm kind of glad the show went on 2 more seasons to spend more time with these characters. But The Gift is such a great episode. So everybody goes in, they're trying to get to Dawn before the window closes, and the way the dimensions open is they gotta open Dawn up, and the dimensions stay open until she stops bleeding, basically until she dies. And I also liked how this episode started with Buffy just fighting a few vampires at the beginning. If this was the last episode of the entire show, it was really nice that she just goes out into the alley and fights a few vampires, like could have been one last time. So I love that they threw that in there at the beginning of the episode. But I think everybody has some great moments in this final episode when they're all fighting. Tara does get her mind back at the end, and her and Willow fight together. And then Buffy, the fight between Buffy and Gloria is really well done. They're going up this tower and they're both fighting there, and they're both trying to get to Dawn. And Glory does fall from high on the tower. And I love the moment where Glory did turn back to Ben, but Buffy could not kill Ben. So she leaves to go get Dawn. Giles comes in and he strangles Ben to death. He did that because he knew Buffy couldn't do it. And I thought that was kind of a great moment for Giles, because he is willing to go a little bit farther than Buffy will. And I love the final conversation with Buffy and Dawn. They're both on a tower. The door has been opened already. Dawn has been opened up, and they know blood is the key to shut all the dimensions down. And Buffy ends up deciding to sacrifice herself to save the world, and she tells Dawn that she loves her, but she has to do this. And I just love that entire ending. She jumps in and you see her dead body at the end of the episode, and everybody, and Spike falls apart. He just falls down to the ground. I think it was a perfect ending. If this was the ending to the series, it would have been perfect. I would have been perfectly fine. And if the shot of Buffy's headstone was the final shot of the series, I would have been fine. And I love that the headstone said she saved the world a lot.
Be brave. Live. For me.
So yes, The Gift, for me, it would have been a perfect series finale, but I love that you can spend 2 more seasons with this gang. Overall, I think season 5 is probably my favorite season of the series. Overall, I think season 5 is like a near perfect season of this show. I think it's like top-notch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it had the best storyline throughout, the most intriguing storyline, and even I think Glory is the best villain of the series. They still had a lot of fun moments in this season, but they mixed it with a lot of suspense, a lot of tragedy with Joyce dying. So for me, this was a perfect meld of fun and intriguing and heartbreaking, just a mix of everything. This was like a perfect season. So I do highly recommend season 5 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Love this season so much. Guys, tell me in the comments section below if you love season 5 and tell me your thoughts on this season. And let me know if you think Glory is the best villain of the series like I do. And definitely be looking out for season 6 review coming up in the next week or so. And I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.